city. Engage all defenses. And get this man a shield.
Avengers: Infinity War, playing in, as they used to say, in theaters nationwide, already in Europe. The opening weekend was record-breaking. It opened in 21 international markets Wednesday and was #1 every place it did, setting marks for the biggest opening day ever in South Korea, Philippines, and Thailand.
And joining us now to talk more about that big opening and some other options this weekend is our movie critic, Travis Hopson. Good to see you, Travis.
Other options? What are you, other options? What are you talking about?
There is no other option this weekend, right?
As far as Hollywood's concerned, there are no other options.
So people have already seen it because it opened last night and
Yes.
you saw it. What did you think?
I'm a big fan of Marvel's movies, and this one is the one that people have been waiting on for a decade. The Marvel Cinematic Universe began in 2008. It's all been leading up to this. Avengers: Infinity War is the biggest superhero movie ever, and personally, I loved it. It's got a lot of characters. You're talking about maybe 20, 30 characters that it's trying to fit in. But I think what people are going to be surprised by with this movie is that it is not an Avengers movie. It is a Thanos movie. It is about the villain, played by Josh Brolin, and his quest to gather the Infinity Stones that will allow him to basically be the most powerful being in the universe. Now, the Avengers are basically supporting characters in their own movie, which is interesting, but it works because Thanos is a very compelling bad guy. He's not just, I'm going to destroy the world and that's it. He's got motivations to him. He is a very interesting bad guy for the Marvel Universe.
It seems like in a movie where you have all of these immediately identifiable characters, it reminds me sort of The Love Boat in TV a long time ago, where you have
I'm
all
sure that's what
these
they were
people.
going for.
And
they put it on the poster.
I'm sure they're thrilled that that's the analogy I'm making about this thing for the hundreds of millions of dollars that they spent on it. But it's really hard to get all these people on film and video over the course of 2.5 hours.
And that's true. And like I said, you are dealing with a lot of characters, but I think everybody gets mostly their moment to shine in this movie. Not everybody gets the same amount of time. That's impossible. And like I said, the movie is really focused on Thanos, but you get characters like Vision and the Scarlet Witch who are usually underserved in the Avengers movies. They get probably one of the most emotional segments of the film. You get to see unusual team-ups like Thor and Rocket and and Groot and things, and Doctor Strange and Iron Man, who have a natural magic versus science conflict within them. There's a lot going on in this movie outside of just Thanos.
If this is the first one I've seen, though, is it going to take me a while to get sort of caught up to speed?
This is the first one you've seen. Why are you going to see it? I mean,
my kids dragged me to it. How about that?
18 other movies. Go watch them first. Don't go jump into the Marvel Universe with this one.
And
take your time.
Somebody's doing a straight through run, one of the cable channels, of all 18 leading up to this one.
To be fair, I watch all of the Marvel movies before I take on a new one.
But that's a professional thing.
Just to kind of get caught up.
You got to do that in your line of work.
It's not professional at all, trust me.
All right, well, let's talk about big dollars, because this movie is supposed to do so well. How do you think it's going to stack up in the grand scheme of the biggest money makers of all time?
Yeah, I think the highest grossing superhero movie of all time, I believe, is The Avengers, which I think about 1.5 billion or somewhere around there. I believe this movie will come close to topping it. The only reason I think it might not is because this one is very downbeat compared to those, compared to the first Avengers movie and the sequel, Age of Ultron. This one is a much darker film. And that might, while people will enjoy it, they might not be as quick to want to go and see it 3 or 4 times.
But doesn't that make it a better film ultimately, though, instead of this wonderful thing that everybody lives happily ever after?
This movie is going to shock you, and it shocks you right from the start. It does not hold your hand at all through this movie. Once you step into it, you're going to be like, okay, this movie is taking the gloves off.
Wow, all in. Okay, if you're not into superheroes, what are your other options this week?
A couple of other options this week with some big names in them. Disobedience, which stars Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams. It is a story of 2 women who live in an Orthodox Jewish community who shared an indiscretion years earlier, and Weisz's character fled the community after that. She returns home for a funeral, and they reconnect, and old passions are reignited. And it is a compelling story. It is a movie about sexual freedom and female agency, which I think is really important nowadays. It's a really steamy movie. You wouldn't think so given the setting, but this movie is hot stuff. You're not going to bring your kid to this one.
In
You're
every
more
sense.
likely to bring your kid to Avengers.
Dump the kid at the
than to go-
Avengers and go see the
take him
adult
to see
movie.
this one.
Fair
But it's a
enough.
really good film. People should check it out.
All right. And what about Kings?
King stars Halle Berry and Daniel Craig, two really big names for a movie that is really flying under the radar. It's set during 1992 LA riots, and it centers on a good-hearted woman living in South Central who takes in at-risk kids. When the riots break out, they're all basically scattered into the wind, and she's trying to find them and bring her family back together again.
Very timely.
It is very
Today's
timely.
political climate.
It's a lot like Detroit from last year, talking about race and drawing parallels to today. It's a little overstuffed. I think the director, who is a Turkish descent, she directed a movie called Mustang a couple years ago, tries to say and do too much, but she really capitalizes on the small moments, and those work.
Halle Berry, yeah.
Two
Daniel
good
Craig.
actors at the top. That always helps.
Travis Hopson, always good to talk to you.
Thank you.
All
It's
right.
not just Avengers.
It's just Avengers.
Oh, okay.
Thanks for coming in.